Good morning, everyone. Our today's poem is Don't Call Me Anglo Indian by Syed Amanuddin. This is a part of BA third year English literature syllabus in Bikaner University. So let's begin. First, let's understand who Syed Amanuddin was. Syed Amanuddin was an influential Indo American poet and he was born in Mysore and then he went America for his final PhD degree. He has taught in various prestigious college and all that. His published works were Adventure of Atman, James and Germs, Challenger Poems. He has also been associated with some literary magazines like Poetry East and West and Creative Moments. He is very famous as his work capture the essence of human experience, joy, happiness, love, pain, suffering. He expresses the search for universal truth and help us see the injustice, irony, beauty of the world around us. So that was the poet Syed Amanuddin. Now let's understand the poem that is prescribed in our syllabus. The poem is Don't Call Me Indo Anglican. So it starts like this. No, I don't want to be hodgepodge of culture, a confusion of language, a nullity of imagination, an abortive affair between an Indo and an Anglo. So in this poem, अब शुरू से ही देखेंगे, this is a conversational poem, direct assertion. इसमें poet direct आपसे बात कर रहा है and there is a protest, there is a anger, there is a rage. उसमें आपको गुस्सा दिखेगा. He's claiming, no, I don't want this. What he doesn't want to be hodgepodge of culture. He doesn't want of confusion of language. He has the problem in getting known and confined to so many cultures, languages, and all that stuff. Abortive affair between Indo and England. उसे किसी भी तरीके के नाम, किसी भी तरीके की limitation में बंधना मंजूर नहीं है. That's what he's trying to claim. I hate hyphens. He's emphasizing in the next few lines the artificial bridges between artificial values in the name of race, religion, and language. He clarified in a very simple and very straightforward way that he hate hyphens. कि किसी भी चीज को जो अलग कर देता है हाइफन हाइफन हम कब लगाते हैं दो चीजों के बीच में हाइफन लगाते हैं तो he says that he hate hyphens because he feels they are artificial bridge between artificial values of name of race, religion, and language. So name, रिलीजन, रेस, लैंग्वेज के बेसिस पे जो लोगों को अलग अलग किया जाता है, कैटेगराइज किया जाता है, प्रिजुडिस किया जाता है. आप इंडियन राइटर हैं, आप अमेरिकन राइटर हैं, आप ऐसे हैं, आप ये लिखते हैं, आप वो लिखते हैं. इस माइंडसेट के खिलाफ वो अपनी आवाज उठा रहा है दैट आई हैव अ प्रॉब्लम विद बीइंग कैटेगराइज्ड. I damn all hyphenated minds, prejudice offspring of unenlightened souls. I denounce all labels and label makers. Very profound. I refuse to be Monrook specimen to be analyzed, labeled, and stored for a curious, gloomy fellow to reanalyze, reclassify me for shelving me again. So here he goes further, with an extent to say very clearly that I have a problem with labels. I have a problem with label makers. I don't want to be moon rock specimen. मतलब मैं कोई पत्थर नहीं होना चाहता हूँ जिसको कोई बैठ के एनालाइज करे, लेबल करे और फिर स्टोर कर दे. I don't want myself to be shelved. So in the first few lines, he is very strongly admitting his objection towards labels, categorizing, and making someone label something. Clear? Shelving something. And then further he says कि उसके साथ हो क्या रहा है. They call me Indo Anglican. They call me Indo Anglican. उन्होंने मुझे क्या लेबल दिया है? It's a personal confession happening. He's an Indo-American poet, Indo-Anglican in that context, belonged to India, went outside in the Western world, established himself, but still he feels that he has been labeled so far. His true value has not been understood. He has just looked from the lens of Indo Anglican. So he says that they call me Indo Anglican. But then he gives him reasons. I don't know what they mean. So जब कोई लोग उसे इंडो एंग्लिकन बोल रहे हैं उसको ये समझ नहीं आ रहा है कि उसका मतलब क्या है. I don't know what they mean. Kaveri flows in my vein. Chamundi hills rise in my mind with the star afloat. Eyes of the goddess smiling on the slain demon, Brindavan fountain sing in my soul. In these 3-4 lines, by the reference of different places, historical places, religious places of India, he's saying that India is in my veins, isn't in my blood. I carry India along with myself. Kaveri, Chamundi Hills, Brindavan Fountain, all the famous places of India. He belongs to them. It, it is still with him. It goes wherever he goes. But that's true, no doubt. India is in my blood and India goes with me, stays with me no matter where I am, what I am doing. But I am not tied down to my childhood scene. But इसका ये मतलब नहीं है कि मैं अपने childhood memories में ही बंधा हुआ हूँ. It doesn't mean कि भाई इंडिया मेरे में है, no doubt. पर इंडिया के beyond भी मैंने अपना existence explore kiya hai. And for that he goes further and he says, I have laid languages by their ears. I have worked hard to master languages. I have twisted creeds to force the truth out. I have burned candles in the caves of prejudice. I have searched in the oceans of being. I have flown across the universe on the wings of my thought. And here he says, no doubt, I am Indian. India is in my blood. India goes wherever I go, and all that stuff is true, but it doesn't stop me from being what I have explored in my life beyond that. And what he has explored, he has worked on languages, he has mastered multiple languages, he has worked hard to bring truth out, he has worked hard to come out of a cave of prejudice, and he has used his imagination, thought, wisdom to flow across the universe on the wings of them. I have traveled across through my imagination, through my language, through my dedication. That's what he's claiming to. And then finally he says, they call me Indo Anglican. The mistake misformed folks and class me with the small groups of writers. But दो मैंने इन सब बाउंड्रीज के बियॉन्ड अपने आप को एक्सप्लोर किया है, आई लेट माई इमेजिनेशन make me fly. I have worked hard to work, bring out truth, come out of the cave of prejudice, but still they call me Indo Anglican. And who are they? He's saying the mistaken, misinformed folks. They are mistaken and class me because they are classing me with the small groups of writers, claustering me, crippling me. So what he is feeling that when I am labeled, when I am classified, ये लोग मुझे बंद कर रहे हैं एक shelf में, एक category में, and I feel they are mistaken, they are misinformed because I would rather what he wants. I would rather roam with Kalidas and Kabir. He wants to roam with Kalidas and Kabir or go on spiritual journey with Dante. He's taking and talking about the largest horizon from Kalidasa to Kabir to Dante. Meditate with Khayyam on the mathematics of existence or sing with Ghalib the anguish of love and drawn with Lipo kissing the moon's reflection in the river. So he is telling us the entire horizon, the world literature from Kalidas to Kabir to Khayyam to Ghalib to Leopo. So he wants to be universal. He wants to embrace every form of literature into it, every form of love for literature into it. But the problem is they still, in spite of this, they still call me Indo Anglican. It's true I write in English. He claims that it's true I write in English. Dream in the language of Shakespeare and Keats. He says it's true that I write in language of English, I write in the language of Shakespeare and Keats, but I'm not Anglo, my friend. Though my language of expression that I have chosen for myself is English, I write in the language of Shakespeare and Keats, but I am not Anglo. I am poet. That's the final confession. Neither I'm Anglo, neither I'm Indian, neither I want to be classified into any category. What he wants to be called as poet. I am poet and I have lived 40 centuries under various names. और मैं सदियों से जिया आ रहा हूँ, अलग अलग नाम बदल के, अलग अलग भाषाएं बदल के, अलग अलग रूप बदल के. And right now what my current existence is, current name is, I am now Amanuddin. So that's the beautiful, powerful personal confession poem that he has written. He has a problem with being labeled by categorizing, as he want to be poet. He just want to be poet who can express universally, who can feel universally. He doesn't want to get into any label. So that's the poem all about. I hope it's clear. Now let's understand in little more detail by taking about major themes of this poem. So, most important thing is that identity and labels. So, theme of identity and impact of labels. He resists to be categorized as Indo Anglican writer. He resists any sort of these type of categorization. He just want to be a poet. He wants to transcend every boundaries. Then rebellion against stereotype. He doesn't want to be fit into any stereotype. He refused to be hodgepodge of culture, confusion of language. So he says that he doesn't want to fit into any sort of these things. There's a university in diversity because he brings all the element. He want to transcend everything, labels and all that. So that's why there's a unity that he was striving for, universality he is striving for. It's a personal journey for him. It's a very personal confessional poem where he is just directly saying, I want this. I. That's again and again he uses. So, leading language by their ear, challenging creeds, he tells about his personal struggles. कैसे उसने struggle किया है, कैसे वो आगे बढ़ा है. So that's what we come across. Then the spirit of a poet is very important. He says that central message poem lies this assertion of being poet above all. That मैं इंडो एंग्लिकन कुछ नहीं हूँ, मैं पोएट हूँ और मैं सदियों से पोएट की तरह जिया आ रहा हूँ, अभी मेरा नाम ये है. So he wants to glorify himself. He is very proud to call himself poet and he has serious resistance towards label and any categorization. So timeless nature of his art and connection to the poetic tradition. Universal perspective because it draws inspiration from Kalidasa, Kabir, Dante, Khayyam, Ghalib. Language and culture is a very important thing. Complexity of culture and linguistic identity. Pride in heritage. There's so many reference of India, Kaveri and all that stuff, Brindavan fountains. So there is reference. And here poetry as liberation. When he says poetic freedom, social expectation and all that stuff. So in conclusion, we can say Syed Ahmad, Don't Call Me Indo Anglican is a thought provoking poem that delves into the complexity of identity and the power of poetry to transcend cultural and linguistic boundaries. Poet rejection of labels and his assertion of being a poet first and foremost show the universal nature of artistic expression and essence of human experience. It stands as a powerful call for recognition and acceptance beyond narrow characterization. Very powerful line. Powerful call for recognition and acceptance beyond narrow characterization. Clear? Now, very important aspect of this poem that I also want to highlight, other than themes and everything, is a style, because if you notice, the poem is written in a different style. So it is a free verse poem. Free verse poem very well go with the theme of the poem because he is aiming towards universality, and this style allows poet to express their thoughts and emotion with more flexibility, fitting the theme of rejecting labels. So he is rejecting label and is expressing himself in free verse. Then we have a conversational tone. He is talking in a first person perspective directly to the reader. Then we have various repetition. They call me Indo Anglian. Repetition actually bring out the central conflict of the poem, underscoring the poet's resistance to being labeled. So that's most important elements of the style. If we move further, Some of the major figure of speech the poets use: metaphor, hodgepodge of culture, confusion of language, nullity of imagination that we explore. These metaphor highlights poet rejection of being reduced to mere combination of cultural and linguistic elements. Then we have alliteration. One example is candle in the cave of prejudice, repetition of C emphasis, the prejudice struggle that poet is facing. Similarly, we can find Lipo kissing the moon's reflection. Then we have personification. I have led language by the ears. Your language itself is personified. Hyperbole, I have lived 40 centuries under various names. So he is hyperbole, him as a poet. So that's a poet's existence is hyperbole. Then symbolism, when we have Kaveri flows, Vrindavan fountains, all these are symbol of Indian heritage and spirituality. Anaphora, I refuse. So 7 8 times things are repeated. So that's an anaphora. Enjambment. So here, continues of the sentence, so it is never break, it goes and goes one line to next, creating a smooth and following rhythm. So we can conclude finally that poem styles of free verse combined with effective use of figure of speech contributes to passionate and defiant tone. The poet's rejection of label and assertion of poetic individuality are communicated through evocative imaginary and language. I hope this poem is clear to you. It's a very powerful poem. It is very strong in its assertion that, I would just want to be poet. I don't want to be labeled. And we can all connect in our own life, in our own context, that when we are labeled, we want to be known as human, not as this race or this jati, this caste, and all that stuff. And here, in an artistic way, what labels, what characterization does the poem talks about very powerfully. So, with this, we have come to the end. I hope आपको ये poem समझ में आई होगी. It is clear to you. With this, let's wind up the poem. Thank you. Bye bye.